Welcome everyone to the Quarantine Summit by the Treasury Group. My name is Walter Cruttenden and I'm moderating today. Um, the topic here is why your digital bank is built for this being this pandemic that we're going through right now. And I like to imagine, if there was no fintech industry, what the banks would be like. Here we all are trying to avoid people right now. And I would imagine it would be something like the 1930s, with long lines and crowds and everybody trying to get their money out, because before fintech, you basically had to go to the physical bank to do just about anything you wanted to do. And so now that's all changing very rapidly. And so we're super excited to have two special guests today. One is Boden, who's the founder and CEO of Starling Bank out of the UK. And I think has raised something like $500 million so far. So I believe it's the largest neobank there, but you can tell us more here in just a minute. And then Colin Walsh, who's the founder, CEO of Varo Money, also done quite a large raise and building very fast here in the US. I believe it's the first FDIC approved neobank in the US from what I've read. But what I'd really like to get into is just letting the audience know where you came from and why you decided to get into this end of the banking business in the first place. So, Anne, you're the farthest away. Why don't you kick us off here?
Well, thank you. It's really great participating in this conference. I'm a long-term banker and computer scientist. I joined Lloyds Bank in the early 80s as a computer scientist. And I spent 40 years in the industry, nearly 40 years in the industry. And I came to the conclusion that post the financial crisis, the banks were trying to put the banks back together again the way they were before. And, sort of I'd seen in the previous 30 years, things really evolving in a very slow, piecemeal way. And I saw that lots of industries had been transformed. People were shopping differently. People were buying their music differently. And I took the opportunity to quit my job to start a new bank. So in January 2014, I decided to start a new bank. It was possible to apply for a new banking license. The rules had recently been changed, which allowed people to raise money to start a bank. And not many of us have actually managed to achieve it, but we decided to apply for a new banking license. And we got our banking license in 2016. We launched in the app stores in 2017. And in 2020, we have a very thriving, big retail business, 1.2, 1.3 million customers.
Wow.
We have over 100,000 SME customers, small businesses. We have a banking as a service proposition where we provide services to other fintechs and to other banks and to corporates, including government and other banks as well. And we have a marketplace where we provide services that we source from other providers. We built on APIs. We're API first, we're technology first. All our technology is written by us. We believe in engineering. And we're a technology-led organization that really listens to what customers want.
And how big an organization, roughly?
Yeah, we've got 900 people.
Oh, boy.
So 900 people working in 3 centres, London, Southampton and Cardiff. Growing very fast, even growing now. Our customer numbers are growing at an unprecedented level. Our business customers are signing up every day, even through this crisis. And therefore, even though we go into very difficult times, we are very strong, we're well funded, we've got lots of new offerings we're delivering all the time, especially in this very difficult time where people need more services.
Yes, it is. And I want to hear about what you're doing on the government loan side there in a moment. Yeah. But first, Colin, if you could tell us a little bit about what drove you to get into this business, because you also came from the traditional banking industry. Why start a fintech?
Yeah, I mean, actually, not that dissimilar a story to Anne. So I had spent 25 years in more traditional financial services companies, Amex. We also have a shared heritage with Lloyd's, and then at Wells Fargo. And for me, I felt like there was a massive white space in the U.S. banking market where so many of the incumbents really struggled to serve what was soon becoming the majority of consumers in this country, because their cost structures just simply didn't allow them to provide quality products and services that were affordable and that were really making a difference in people's lives, and without lots of fees and charges. And so this was like creating this whole cycle that I felt, if you could bring a digital first bank into the world that could use technology and design in meaningful ways, you could actually really help so many people. And so that was, we were kind of joking earlier that this is sort of like, I see myself as a reformed banker, and this is in some ways my penance for all these years in the banking system, that I want to really do something, something truly meaningful, and we're doing it. And so we also realized that to serve customers across the whole spectrum and to innovate across a wide range of financial products, you really do have to be a bank. And so while we were standing up our program and really gaining very valuable consumer insights, we also went through the very onerous process, particularly in the US, where you actually have 3 regulators that you require approvals from, particularly if you're going to do a de novo national bank, of going through that process. And so we received a pre-approval from the OCC, which is the national bank regulator, back in mid-2018. We started satisfying all the conditions associated with that preliminary approval. Then we applied and were in February approved by the FDIC. And so now we're on track to open the first fintech national bank. And so it's super exciting. And while we've been able to make a meaningful impact on customers' lives in terms of cash flow and sort of transactional activity and payments and savings, we'll now have the ability as a licensed national bank to continue to innovate across the spectrum of credit products and ultimately home ownership. And so there's a wide range of things that we're going to be able to do to have that positive impact. And at the end of the day, for us, it's all about creating a culturally relevant brand in the banking industry. And never has the time been more right for that, given the horrible situation that's happening right now, and people who are already not terribly financially resilient are really feeling the impact of this. And so I feel like now is our time to stand behind these consumers and really make a difference.
Yes. And I know it's important to the business model to get into the providing credit side of the business. And it sounds like you're really running away there quickly. And of course, both our governments, UK and US, have programs out now to try to help some of the disadvantaged companies. So what is actually is going on in the UK? I know what our US program is.
The government, the Chancellor, announced about 3 or 4 weeks ago a new scheme to put hundreds of billions into small businesses. So the scheme is a government guarantee, which guarantees loans up to 80%. And a number of banks in the UK have been accredited to provide these loans to SMEs under commercial terms, but with a government guarantee. And that is part of the UK's big initiative to make sure that SMEs don't suffer in this environment. We are a big small medium business bank in the UK. We're the largest growing. We're growing faster than anybody else in the UK in this sector. In last year, we were awarded £100 million as a grant towards building the best small medium enterprise bank technology. So a bit of a backstory to this, but post the financial crisis, RBS in the UK took government funding, took EU and HM Treasury funding as bailout. As punishment for taking that bailout, they were told to sell branches. That didn't work. That sale was too difficult. It was too complex to divide the systems up. So RBS went to government, went to the EU and said, we'll put 725 million into a fund and you can give it to our competitors. And then a competition was run to find the banks that could really compete against the big British banks. And we won that competition, was awarded 100 million. So we were awarded money that came from RBS to compete with RBS. So we have been using that money to build the finest technology for SMEs in the world. And,
well, that's better than venture money for sure. And
it's not debt and it's not equity. It's a grant. The threshold is very, very high. We have to deliver a huge amount for that. But it does mean that we can put the best minds and the best technology and a huge amount of intense effort into building great technology for this segment of the market. And £100 million at Starling goes a long, long way. You know very well from my old world where we spent billions, we couldn't do very much. In our sort of environment, with the best technology, with the latest tools, we can deliver so much.
And that is exciting too, because when we opened Varo Bank, I would argue, and I know Anne and I can argue about this, but we're going to have the most modern tech stack, in the banking industry in the U.S. and using, all of the latest tools and tech, and with, brilliant engineers coming out of Silicon Valley, working alongside, bankers who to kind of keep the guardrails in place. And I think it's going to be really a very interesting new day in the industry as our businesses, on both sides of the pond continue to thrive. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and what's happening at the moment is that you've got, we've got new technology. We don't have legacy, and we were built for the cloud. We have gone and become remote very, very easily.
Yeah, it took us 24 hours to put everybody remote working, including customer service. And the banks have struggled.
900 people working in all sorts of places around the country. And the fact is, we're continuing to do 5 to 10 software releases a day. We have been built to be agile, to move very, very quickly. And we are currently releasing lots of new products into market. They're specifically very relevant for the problems our customers have today.
Mention a couple of those if you could.
Yeah. So we launched a check imaging system a couple of weeks ago. We have launched a connected card for people to give to helpers and shoppers that are doing the shopping for people who are in self-isolation. One of the big problems at the moment is that you have a huge population who are locked down indoors because they're self-isolating, but somebody needs to do buy the shopping for them. And UK is now very much a cashless society, even more so under the current environment. So we launched that product in 10 days. And it is bringing, it is so inspiring when we can do things that really are relevant to the current environment.
And with
that's different.
And
I think that's different.
Yeah, we retooled our deposit, our check deposit, so that we could start taking treasury checks as they're coming through next week. We built a partner platform, so we've been able to really amplify partners like Steady, which is a gig economy workplace. We've got other kind of income providing partners that we're working with. We've just launched a partnership with World Remit to help people who have friends and family overseas that need to send money. We introduced an instant money transfer service for peer-to-peer so people can move money. I mean, so all of these things, but to the point Anne was making, it's this kind of cycle of continuous innovation that allows us to just continue to build trust and loyalty and relationships with customers. customers. And again, there's never been a time where the need has been greater to feel like you have a bank that's looking out for you and that's going to be there for you in a time of stress.
But
I
Colin,
agree.
don't you feel as if it's much easier to be relevant in a bank such as ours than
For sure.
in previous jobs?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I joke, it used to take, in some of my previous employers, it would take, 60 to 90 days to get a meeting, to have everybody sit around a big table and pontificate about something. Where here, we could just, we have products launched, every few weeks. And so, yeah, it's a very, very different world.
And the quality is very high. People think that working in this very agile way, we are doing things very precisely. We are very, very rigorous. We have the finest, the standards for, I don't know about you, Colin, but the standards in the UK for banks such as ourselves are the same or higher than for the traditional.
Oh, without a doubt. That's why it took us 3.5 years to get our license.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that we can be, we employ people that come to Starling that believe in the vision, that believe in great engineering for the right reason is a worthwhile job. And therefore we hire great people who really believe in the vision, who are really committed, and we have the best tools and best technology, and bringing those together is creates the magic.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's also, sorry, Walter.
I was just going to say we all saw what Amazon did in the e-commerce business and how it became such a force long before this pandemic obviously ever arose, and how well positioned they are. Actually, the stock just hit a new high the other day. They're hiring as many people as they can possibly find. And it's the same way going on in the digital banking industry to some degree, in that you sort of got prepared before this pandemic. Now this situation should accelerate, if anything, the trajectory of your business. But what about post-crisis? Do you see you modifying your businesses in any way? Do you ever see physical branches? What do you?
I think we're living in a world of, for a long time now, of sort of extended, somewhat isolation. I mean, I think that people will slowly start to get back to work and other things, but, people are going to be cautious. And so I do believe that if you look out, the next couple of years, the idea that there are these credible alternatives to the traditional banking system that in many ways are providing a far superior user experience, a better, more helpful and affordable sort of set of solutions to their financial needs, is going to only accelerate that shift and towards switching to digital providers. So I actually think that, if this, and that likely this situation is going to extend out for some period of time, that it actually, the timing is very much in the favor of the digital players as consumer attitudes and mindsets start to shift. So I really do believe, and going back to the point that both of us made around just sort of being very mission focused, I think that is another important thing for customers, at any time, but now in particular.
Yeah, that's a good point. It might be slightly off topic, but if we do have to isolate longer than we expect, how long do each of you expect this to sort of go on? From what you're seeing.
Nobody knows how long it's going to go on. I think that Starling can operate in this mode indefinitely, to be honest.
Likewise, yeah.
We don't need to go into an office. I think that we are, as an organization, are connecting very well in this environment. I speak to 900 people a couple of times a week using this sort of technology. We have lots of different programs to excite and involve people. We have something called Never Home Alone, where we provide a whole series of sort of broadcasts, whether on nutrition or fitness or dealing with this very strange environment we're in, to all our employees. So we are really geared up for this. And I think in anything particular big seismic change, this sort of thing will expedite and speed up change that was already happening. So there was a huge shift from traditional banks to digital banks, digital only banks. And that was going to take, a number of years. I think this sort of intervention, this sort of horrible crisis that we're going through now will make that shift happen quicker. And I think Colin mentioned earlier, it is the big banks will try and copy everything we do, but they can't copy our cost base, and they can't copy our culture, and we can't copy the fact that people love to engage with organizations that stand for something.
Right. You mentioned you could operate indefinitely remotely, and many businesses are functioning quite well that way. I know our own business, Acorns, we have millions of customers, hundreds of employees, and it doesn't seem to skip a beat. But this doesn't bode too well for
consumers, and small businesses, and
some retail landlords,
we just did
commercial flights. What do you think is going to happen there?
We just did a piece of research that really calls it into very stark contrast, where we talked to people about have they lost their jobs, or have they seen a reduction in income? And we interviewed over 1,200 people across the country earning less than $75,000, and 43% said that they'd either lost their job or that they've had some reduction of income, and 60% talked about their sort of stress and fear and anxiety. And so, I mean, this situation is very, very real for many people. And, while we're seeing these stimulus payments coming through, and we've been able to process lots of them over the last week, which is fantastic for our customers, but you wonder how long will that last? And so, if you think about people who, whether you're renters or homeowners, you have to buy essentials like groceries and pay utilities, and how long will that last if this goes on for much longer? And so it really is a pretty dire situation for so many people, and that's just in the U.S., but really countries around the world right now. And so they need us to do everything we can to be able to help them through this.
And this crisis is hitting people in a very unequal way. Is people who, it is young people who are working in retailing and the catering industries, and it is those people that are suffering at present. The older people working in different sorts of industries may be less impacted. So it's actually cutting across different demographics in different sort of ways. And you've also got different sorts of businesses. We are dealing with hundreds of thousands of businesses that need support at this time. And as I said earlier, we are participating and have been approved for the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme in the UK. And it is our job now to make sure that we can get as much lending to the businesses that need sort of this interim relief. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Mm.
Yeah. Good. As this sort of pandemic continues to go on, there's inevitably going to be a push soon to try to release some economic activity. We need to kind of get the overall economy growing. And so here in the US, I know we have many of the governors talking amongst themselves about what that plan will look like to expand the business. It sounds like both of your businesses will just kind of continue to grow anyway.
But we can also be resources to help people think about who's hiring. Like, so we sent out a communication to our customers with, here are the employers that are hiring. What are ways you can work remotely? And if you need to pick up extra money, like how can you supplement your income or your government benefits, your unemployment benefits through different types of remote work? And so trying to act as a resource to help people kind of, if this does extend on for a period of time, how do you kind of bridge that gap in terms of just being able to find the resources to cover the bills and the basic expenses, which is a real concern for many people.
Yes, yeah, especially seeing so many in the hotel business, the commercial airline business, that will have to actually look for something else, because I just can't see those businesses coming back as quickly as they fell off. And so that's a great service you provide, Colin. Anything like that happening in the UK, Anne?
Yeah, well, we spend a lot of our time sort of analysing different segments of our customer base, trying to figure out, the sectors that are going to transform, and sectors are going to go along unchanged, and the ones that need to do something really radical to survive. And I think it's all about getting an exit strategy from the current lockdown in the UK and across Europe. It is coming up with some sort of path between where we are now and getting a vaccine, and providing the financial tools for people to survive that period. So we are very, very involved in all of this in the UK. We've gone through lots of crises in the past. We've had lots of things to shake industries and to shake the financial world. And I think this one is going to be something that we all need to turn our heads to, because it's not that easy. It's not just a financial crisis. And I think it's going to be quite a difficult one to think our way through. But we're optimistic. We at Starling have a path and we can see our future. But we only survive when our customers survive. And therefore, we are putting our heads to thinking about what our customers need to think about and making sure that they can survive in the next couple of years.
Amen. Yeah, the world's going to need a lot of help. This situation, I've been around a long time, seen a lot of recessions and problems in the economy, and I just never seen anything that is so widespread. Every country on Earth is being hit in some degree, and of course many of them react by isolating, and so that automatically pulls down economic growth.
Well, this is, unlike traditional kind of economic crisis, this is founded in a health crisis. And I think that, so the traditional remedies that might work in an economic cycle, there's just really no recent playbook for this. And so until we grapple with how to contain the health crisis, which is, obviously something is very top of mind for governments and local and state and federal officials, to think through, like, what are those strategies? Because these two crises go hand in hand, and if we get it wrong, the economic crisis could actually worsen. And so I think that's something that, and I think from our perspective, our focus on our employees and their employee well-being, and trying to, we're continuing to hire and bring in talent, and specifically trying to hire people on the front lines to be able to be there for our customers. But I think caring for their health and well-being is number one priority. Because we don't know how long this health crisis is going to go, and what kind of twists and turns it's going to take. But the two can't really be separated, in terms of the economic and the health issues.
But the important thing is that a bank is an essential service.
Absolutely.
You have to provide services. People need banks in order to go about their day-to-day business. It is not optional. And therefore, we have to be there. We have to be resilient. We have to be there 24/7 for our customers.
And digital banks are safe because we're remote by nature. We're just a safer alternative during this time.
Great. Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head there, that a bank is an essential service. Everyone needs access to their money just to operate in this world. As you say, it's not optional. So, that's probably a good note to close on here. And I really want to thank you, Anne, especially. I know it's late over there. Thank you so much, Anne Boden with Starling Bank, one of the fastest growing neobanks in Europe, certainly the largest in the UK. And Colin Walsh with Varo, who's doing an amazing job getting our own American equivalent up and going here as quickly as possible. So thanks so much to both of you for helping.
Thank you, Walter.
Thanks for inviting us. Okay. Really enjoyed it.
Good chatting with you, Anne. Thanks, Walter.
Great to see
Okay,
you.
talk soon. Hope to meet you in person soon.